you might get a message that says we're recording. If not, we're recording. So I'm gonna get started here. So purpose of the meeting tonight is to just familiarize you with the course. So those of you who are off camera, I'm going to ask you to come off camera. We'll do some introductions here, say hello to everyone, and then I'm going to walk you through some specific things. The Zoom itself is scheduled for an hour, but I can tell you from experience, it's going to cut us off in about 45 minutes. We'll start to get a countdown that the meeting will end. So we're going to try and keep this to 45 minutes. So I'll try not to talk too much up front, and hopefully that will allow for any Q&A. So I'm going to start. I'm Dr. Scott Hunt. I am the adjunct for this course, Equity-Centered Leadership. This is my 4th year with ACE, and so I've taught a variety of courses over the term of those 4 years, and most recently have over the last year and a half kind of exclusively been assigned to this course. So I look forward to the 5-week term. So raise your hand if this is your very first class at ACE. Oh, there's at least one. And Megan and Meredith and Allie and Emily, you can come off camera so I can see your hands too. Thank you. So if this is your first course, I'm going to try to talk through, like, this is a 5-week course. It is jam-packed with lots for you to do, and likely you might be at the end of your school year and you might find it difficult to reach out to administrators, teachers, and others, because there are some assignments in here that will require you to at least have some knowledge of what's happening in your school, at least from an equity lens. So we can talk through those things as we move through this. So this is my 34th year in the field. I've been with ACE for 4 years, but previous to that, and currently, I'm the Executive Director of Field Relations at the Ohio Department of Education. I've been in that role for 4 years. And basically that job is I connect the dots between what's happening at a state agency and what's happening with all of our stakeholders, from public schools to our chartered non-public school districts, our major associations, and a variety of other folks, to make sure that we're supporting what's happening in education across the state of Ohio. Prior to that, I was a school superintendent in a small rural community in Northeast Ohio. I was superintendent for 6 years. Great experience to be able to lead a school district. I live in Northeast Ohio, so if you've heard of Cleveland, or if you're from Ohio, you might understand the area. But where I currently live, and where I spent the bulk of my career, at least half of my career, 15 years in Perry, Ohio, I live in the background of a nuclear power plant. So if I'm glowing, that's not the power plant. I'm in Naples, and that's probably the sun from the beach today. But I spent 15 years in Perry. The last year I was at Perry, I was the director of college and career readiness. I did that for 1 year. I was a middle school principal at Perry for 5 years. I was a high school assistant at Perry for 5 years, and I was a high school counselor at Perry for 4 years. Prior to that, I did about 8 years worth of teaching. Spent 1 year in Cleveland Metropolitan, teaching middle school multi-subjects. In Cleveland, the districts that surround Cleveland are called outer ring districts. So I spent 4 years in a small, high-performing district on the outer ring of Cleveland. I taught 8th grade science. I did some elementary counseling, and I opened their first OWA program. That's it's a work study program, occupational work adjustment program, my last year there. And then I spent 4 years in Collier County Public Schools, started my teaching career here in Florida, and I taught 5th grade for 4 years. So hopefully those experiences will help you along the way. So let's raise your hand again if this is your very first ACE class. Okay, so I'm going to ask you to Be patient with the class and learn the cadence of the 5-week courses. If this is your first class, you may have a lot of questions. That's what I'm here for, and I hope to be able to answer those questions for you. I'm going to share my screen because I want to walk through some specific items in the course. So give me a second here to see if I can do this properly. Maybe I can. Maybe I can't. Let's see. Now, tell me, can you see the calendar for the course? Yes. And can you see the home page for the course that says announcements at the top? Okay, perfect. All right, so I'm going to start there. In the instructor studio, my contact information and how to contact me. So first I want to say ACE requires students to have all, and professors to have all communication through Canvas. So your first outreach should be through the Canvas inbox, which is located right here in the left-hand menu item. So any emails that you send it through Canvas. For me, I have it set to alert me so that anytime that you send me something, I get pinged on my phone and I could respond as soon as I possibly can. I do check the email box, my Outlook, but oftentimes that isn't as quick as through the Canvas inbox. But my ACE email is also there. I also listed my cell. If you do have a need to reach out to me and you can't get a hold of me via email, feel free to call or text me. All right, so that's Instructor Studio. So I want to talk a little bit about the course syllabus with you, and I'm not going to walk through the whole course syllabus. You can do that on your own, but I want to point out some very important pieces here and apologize for the scrolling. I want to get down to a specific section here just to point out to you. So this is in regards to late work. So I want to make this clear for you. So here is kind of where we'll talk a little bit about the cadence of the course. So you're going to see in the calendar, when I show you the calendar, that all assignments are due by the due date listed in that calendar. I'll talk a little bit more about the calendar when we get to that item. But all assignments have to be turned in on time, unless you have an extenuating circumstance. Then I have the flexibility within that week to provide you some additional time if necessary. So what does that mean for you? And this is also posted in the announcements. All assignments must be turned in on time unless extenuating circumstance. And by Thursday of that week, if you've not submitted anything, it becomes a 0. So you want to make sure you pay close attention to the due dates in the assignment calendar. Now, let's talk about extenuating circumstances. An extenuating circumstance: I'm ill. I have COVID. I'm in the hospital. I'm caring for a family member who's injured. Those are our extenuating circumstances. I'm going on vacation and might not be able to complete the assignment on time. That is not an extenuating circumstance. I have a night meeting. That's not an extenuating circumstance. You're going to have to work within your schedule and the calendar to make sure you hit those due dates. And I'm telling you, the 5 weeks, you're going to have to stay on top of the calendar because a 5-week turnaround is pretty quick. And as I started out, there's plenty of work to do in the course. So I'm not trying to scare you away, but just so that you know that up front, that you're going to have to manage your time and your calendar pretty closely. So that's assignments and kind of late work. Academic integrity. Don't plagiarize. You have to run all of your submissions through Turnitin. You need to make sure you do that for any item that you do submit. So Turnitin is basically what that tells me is that there's a duplication of something in your paper that was picked up in another space. Now, as long as you have properly cited what those words are, you're good. And you don't have to worry. about plagiarism. But it gives me a similarity score based on other documents that are turned in, and I do look at that. So I would tell you that you want to make sure that you want to keep your Turnitin similarity score 20% or below. That's a good indicator for you. The other thing that I will say is, because there are some templates in here that you will use, you might get a similarity score of 100%. Don't freak out about that. That's very common, because if you're using a template in this course, the previous other renditions of this course probably use the same template. It's going to show up on your similarity score. So when you're using a template or asked to use a template, just know that your Turnitin might show up very high in terms of the percentage. The other thing I want to point out in terms of Turnitin and the academic integrity piece is, when you submit an assignment, it has to be in a Word document, it has to be in a PDF, or it has to be in a PowerPoint. Google links are not acceptable because they can't be reviewed by Turnitin, and typically the link could potentially change. So no Google links, no Google Docs. Everything must be in a Word document, a PDF, or a PowerPoint. So I think that's all I want to talk about in terms of that. The other piece that you will notice, and if you're new to ACE, you won't know this, but per ACE policy, you are not allowed to use a video without prior written permission of the creator. And you are not allowed to use TED Talks at all. There's some licensing issues, I guess, that professors or students cannot use TED Talks. So you're going to get an assignment in which you are asked to find a visual representation, a video. I believe it's in Module 2 discussion that's going to ask you for that. So just know that you can't use the YouTube video unless you're also posting with that video the creator's written permission to use their video. Just to get that out of the way up front so that you're aware of that. I do deduct points if you post a YouTube or a TED Talks without, well, you can't use TED Talks, but if you post a YouTube without that permission, it's typically a 5-point deduction. So I just want to be aware of that as well. All right. We're going to move to the calendar. So I'm going to point out the calendar. Sorry about that. The calendar is something you should pay very close attention to. So we'll just start with week 1 here. And I can see already that I am in a course that I don't want to be in, because that has April dates. So I'm going to go to your course. My apologies. Okay, so I want you to take note of the due dates and the times. People get confused by this. I don't know why it's set up this way, but I want you to take a look at Module 1 discussion. The Module 1 discussion, your initial post is due Friday, May 26th by 2:59 a.m. So Friday at 2:59 a.m. is really, if you're kind of following the calendar, right? Thursday night at midnight Thursday, 12:01 is Friday. So 2:59 in the morning is kind of the cutoff date. So just be aware of where those due date times fall, because it will impact whether or not your submission shows up late. So the calendar is very important, and you can see kind of the cadence of the course will be this. Discussions are due by Friday, your initial post. And then by Saturday and Sunday, you have to respond to 2 peers. You'll notice on Monday, your first analysis paper is due. And if you go through each week, you'll see Friday, Module 2 discussion, Monday, Module 2 application analysis. So discussions, initial post Friday, respond to 2 peers, and then your assignments, your application or analysis are due that Monday. So again, just want to point out, follow the calendar closely. It's very important as those due dates do impact grades. And when I talk about grades, I'll talk about kind of what that looks like. I'll show you what that looks like. I'll go back to that previous class. I want to point out that I do post announcements, and I would suggest, I would strongly urge you to read those announcements. I post some links, and especially in those first four, from the welcome to the introductory video to the expectations for APA and grading and feedback. And when we get to grading and feedback, I'll talk a little bit more about that. But each week I will post the discussion board. Those kind of serve as a reminder. You're going to see the same discussion board language in the discussion assignment, and the same for your application and analysis. If there are additional items that I could post to help you, I will do that in those announcements. But those also kind of serve as a little bit of repetition for what it is you have to do in the assignment, and potentially provide some clarifying points there. So again, I would urge you, always read the announcements. And if you have questions about what's in the announcement, don't hesitate to reach out. All right, let's talk discussions real quick. So the very first thing that you should do is post to the Getting to Know You discussion board. This is not graded. This is just an opportunity for everyone in the course to get to know each other, what your role is, what you do, and it's a potential way for you to make a connection with someone who could be of help to you as you get through the course. So please post in the Getting to Know You. I do try to respond to those as well, and hopefully you can do that by Thursday. And let me talk about grades. Now I'm going to go to the other class because I want to point out kind of specifically what grades look like. And again, if you are new to ACE, this will be probably kind of a first time that you are seeing this. So you'll notice, and I'm not really certain what your view looks like, but I assume it's similar. But when I get your submissions, I get your paper that is submitted and uploaded, and you will see that I post commentary on the paper. That's the first way I'll provide feedback. The other way is through the rubric. If there's any deficient areas, I will provide the points, and I'll provide some explanation. You can see in this one, there's some commentary about APA format. And then I always put something in the actual overall assignment comments. So you're going to see three things from me on your weekly assignments. You'll see something on the paper if necessary. You'll see something in the rubric if necessary, and you'll always see an assignment comment. And hopefully that will be helpful to you. The other thing I want to point out about kind of this 5-week cadence is there are no redos. Once you finish and submit, it's finished and submitted, and I grade it. We don't go back for additional feedback to make changes. So you want to make sure that you are doing your due diligence in terms of your spell checking, your grammar, and your formatting. I'm going to go back to our course. And then I just want to point out a couple of things in the announcements in terms of format. So I just want to point out that I've listed some things that should help you in the PowerPoint presentations. There will be 2 of them in this course that you'll have to submit. I've also provided a link to the OWL Purdue website, very useful in terms of references and in-text citations. And I would suggest that you look at that. And I've also attached the APA 7 Basics Manual. Although it's fairly lengthy, what I think what you'll find in this course is that you'll find a way to do your references that are in the simplest format possible, again, which will help you as you kind of learn the formatting piece of this. but there is a grade for formatting, and I do tend to look pretty closely at your APA style. So again, that might be a learning curve for you, and that's okay. I will help you along the way as best I can. And I think I'm going to stop sharing. And then what I'd like to do, because I skipped right over everyone doing an introduction, but myself, I'm sorry about that. Why don't we're gonna come off of mute, and please turn on your cameras if you don't have them on. And what you could do is just quick introduction, give us your name, your current role, and what you're doing, and then we'll have some conversation. So Dara, I'm going to start with you since you're top left of my screen.
Hi, everybody. My name is Dara. I live in Western Colorado in a small town called Grand Junction. I teach for our district's online school. So I don't see kids in person ever, hardly. All my classes look like this. So I teach all grades, but mostly middle and high school. I teach music and I teach French. And I guess that's all.
Thank
Happy
you.
to be here, guys.
Colleen?
Hi, my name is Colleen Herman. I'm a school librarian in a pre-K to 8th grade building. I work for Chicago Public Schools. I've taught in Las Vegas and Philadelphia and Brooklyn, so have a thing for big urban districts, but I've been here for about 14 years.
Great. Thank you, Colleen. Nicole?
Hi, I'm Nicole. I work at a small school in Florida. This is my 17th year in education. I was in the classroom for 11 years, and then I've been out of the classroom for the last 6, versus a reading specialist. And now I have a lot of roles at my school, but I started having a lot of the responsibilities of the assistant head of school this year. So now I'm following up with all the coursework.
Great. Thank you. Allie?
Hi, I'm Allie. I live in Philly and I teach for the Philadelphia School District. And as of right now, I'm a kindergarten teacher and I didn't graduate from college too long ago. So I'm still pretty new to the classroom setting, but jumping right back into school right away because I know down the line I'm going to want to do this. So everybody's telling me just to get it out of the way now. But that's for me.
Good advice. Get it out of the way now. Thank you. Megan?
Hi, I'm Megan. I live in Central Florida. I have taught for 12 years. I started out in elementary school. About 4 years ago, I moved to middle school math. And most recently, I've moved into the role of Dean of Students.
Great. Thank you. Emily?
Hi, I'm Emily. I am in Florida, and this year I transitioned out of the classroom and I am a prevention intervention program specialist for my district.
Great. Thanks, Emily.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. It says 111576 on my screen.
I'll change that. I'm Sue Salvati.
I
I am a clinical social worker who transitioned into the school and started as a para and then moved into a behavior specialist role. And I'm currently in Florida in an elementary school, and I work primarily in the EBD unit and then support the gen ed as well. I'm also the mental health designee, and I do the PBS program.
Great. Thanks, Sue. Meredith? You're muted, Meredith.
I know. Sorry, I'm working from my phone. I don't have my computer because I'm at my daughter's basketball practice. So I was trying to
No worries.
where the buttons are. But I teach outside in a suburb of St. Louis in Cahokia, Illinois. I've been teaching for 20 years and going back for my admin, just for opportunities in the future. I currently teach special education in a cross-cat class, 3rd through 5th grade.
Great. Thanks, Meredith. Christopher?
I was just dismissing my after-school drumline group. I'm a music teacher in the Chicago Public Schools. I started teaching about 20 years ago. I spent 4 years teaching pre-K through 8th grade general music in Iowa outside of Cedar Rapids. And then I moved to Chicago on the west side at a neighborhood school. Same job description, pre-K through 8th grade general music. But a very different student population on the west side of the city. So that's me.
Great, thanks, Chris. So I guess I have a question for everyone. So I'm going to assume that each of you have some desire to become a building principal, assistant principal. Yes, no, maybe. Some of you are saying no. Yeah, I know I don't have to share this with you, but there is a shortage of educators across the country. I know in Ohio we're trying to deal with, how do we fill that pipeline? How do we make the field a little more attractive than it is today? And some things we don't have control over. But one thing that we know that the research supports, actually two things. We know that the research supports that the number one factor in the student's achievement and progress is a high quality teacher. And we also know that you can't have high quality teaching without leadership. And that boils down to the building principal. So I would encourage you as you continue down this path, and I'm going to tell you, it probably won't be easy. And if you're just hopping in and you're not kind of used to that cadence yet, as I've said, just be closely aware of your calendar, that hang in there, because your skill set will be needed in the future. We need good, strong teachers, and we need good, strong leaders in our buildings across the country if we're going to make a difference for kids. And that everything that you should get in this program, including with this course, should prepare you to kind of step into that role. So I'm glad that you are engaging in this work. And then I'm going to kind of do, let's see, I just got your meeting will end in 10 minutes. Does that show up on your screen? It shows up on mine. I'll kind of do a shameless plug for some of the work that's happening in Ohio. One of my colleagues at the Department of Education, every month we host a principal chat. And it's really kind of designed to hit our principals and building administrators in Ohio. But certainly if you had a desire, you could join one of those chats just to hear what the conversation is. We kicked this off a couple of months ago. If you don't know who Todd Whitaker is, Google him or get on the Twitter and search his name. He's a world-renowned expert in leadership, has about 60 plus books out. I think the one you might be interested in is What Great Principals Do Differently. A great resource, but he joined our chat and it's recorded and you could get to those, and just very interesting to hear what's happening at least across the state of Ohio, but might pertain to your interests as well. And I'd encourage you to look at that, and maybe that's something you'd be interested in hearing. So I said shameless plug. I'll put my dollar in the jar and I won't talk about that other part of my work, but I think it could have a potential positive impact on you as well. So I'm going to stop, knowing that we have 8 minutes and 27 seconds. You might have some questions that I could address this evening. And so I'm going to open it up here for the next 7 minutes or so. And if you have something, just come off mute and jump right in.
I have a question about PowerPoint presentations that we turn in. Other professors have let us create our presentations in like Google Slides as long as we submit them as a PDF. Is that okay for you too, if it's a PDF with speaker notes, or does it have to be done in PowerPoint?
As long as it's in a PDF, and you're going to see some very specific directions for the PowerPoint or slides. that will require you to submit those speakers notes as part of it, and there's some directions in each of those assignments. So if you create it in slides and you submit it as a PDF so that it could be reviewed by Turnitin, you should be okay. Good question. Others?
I have a question about due dates.
Yes.
You mentioned in, I think, one of your announcements, and then again here in this meeting, that if things aren't submitted by Thursday, they would be a 0. What exactly do you mean? Do you mean the discussions?
So, all right, good clarifying point here. So the discussion board, your initial post, well, let me go back to grades. So because the grade book is tied to those calendar dates and times, there is a 10% runoff every day that you are late for an assignment unless I approve some sort of an extension. So if Friday is the due date for your initial discussion post and you don't do that until Saturday, you're going to get a 10% deduction in your score. If on Monday you don't if you don't submit an assignment, period, if you are just thinking, I don't have this done, I don't have an extenuating circumstance, I'm going to turn it in late, which you could do, but it's a 10% runoff per day. But if you get to Thursday and it's not submitted, it becomes a 0 in the grade book.
You mean the following Thursday?
No, the Thursday. So if it's due Monday and you turn it in on time, you're good. If you're late on Monday's assignment and you're late on Monday's assignment, you don't turn it in Tuesday, and you don't turn it in Wednesday, and you don't turn it in Thursday,
Okay.
Then it becomes a 0.
Okay. So, and it's really due on Sunday for most of us, unless we're on the,
Yeah.
3
That's
a.m.
why-
on Monday. It's really due on Sunday,
It's really due on
unless
Sunday.
we're going to turn it
That's
in.
why I point out that time, because
Yeah.
folks
Okay.
get confused about the time factor.
Okay. So
I don't
that's
know-
for
I don't know why
that's
that
for
is.
like the analysis
Yeah.
and applications. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. Thank you.
No, good question.
I know you mentioned as far as citing videos is
Yeah.
a no. However, I've had professors that are okay with citing the course videos. Is that okay, or stay away from everything altogether?
You cannot use YouTube videos
Okay.
unless you have permission from the creator. So in previous, this last term, some students decided they were going to ask permission to use a specific YouTube video for one of the discussions. They emailed the creator. The creator said, I give you permission to use it. They submitted that email along, a PDF of the email along with that assignment, with that YouTube referenced and cited in the assignment. You are not allowed to use TED Talks, period. You can use any of our videos that are posted in the assignments as reference. Other questions? Trying to give sufficient wait time. My guess is you will come up with some questions over the course of this week and the remaining 5 weeks, and please don't hesitate to reach out. I do my best to respond as quickly as possible. I understand that this is just now one little part of your life. It's going to take a lot of your time, and I'm sure you have other things that you are responsible for. So please don't hesitate to reach out when you have a question. I will do my best to support you along the way. And we will get through this 5 weeks, and before you know it, it'll be over and you'll be on to the next course. So I'm not hearing any other questions, so I'm going to stop recording, and I'm going to give you a little bit of time back for the rest of the evening.